The rain had turned the road into a ribbon of slick, unforgiving mud, and the little girl stood there in the middle of Ichu's sunken dress soaked, chin lifted in quiet defiance as if the storm itself had nothing on her. Her voice, small but sharp, cut through the downpour. She didn't need help, not from anyone, not ever again. Cars passed by like she was invisible, splashing muddy water at her feet, but she didn't flinch. She had learned not to expect kindness. And then, out of nowhere, a rusty blue pickup slowed down beside her, its engine rumbling like a reluctant heartbeat. Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small, unexpected moments to change lives, take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stories like this remind us why humanity still matters. The man driving the truck was named Marcus Hale, a single father who had long since traded dreams for responsibilities. His life had been reduced to early mornings, long work shifts, and late nights spent making sure his son, Caleb, had everything he needed even if Marcus himself had nothing left. His wife had passed away 3 years earlier, leaving behind a silence that never quite faded. Marcus had learned to survive, not to hope. But that day, something about the girl in the mud didn't let him drive past. He pulled over, stepping out into the rain without hesitation. His boots sank into the same mud that had swallowed her shoes, but he didn't seem to notice. The girl glanced at him, her eyes fierce despite the tears mixing with rain on her cheeks. She repeated herself, louder this time, insisting she didn't need help. Marcus didn't argue. He didn't push. He just stood there, letting the storm rage around them, as if waiting for something unspoken. Her name was Nora Whitfield, though Marcus wouldn't learn that until later. At that moment, she was just a stubborn child holding together a world that had already fallen apart. Her mother had been taken away in the back of an ambulance the night before, sirens echoing into the dark, leaving Nora alone in a house that suddenly felt too big and too empty. She had waited all night, convinced her mother would come back. By morning, hope had turned into fear, and fear into anger. So she had walked. Without direction, without a plan, just away from the silence, from the neighbors who whispered, from the truth she refused to face. Marcus crouched slightly, lowering himself to her level, careful not to invade her space. He noticed the way her hands trembled, the way her lips pressed together like she was holding back something bigger than tears. He didn't ask questions right away. Instead, he took off his jacket and gently placed it on the ground in front of her, creating a small, dry island in the mud. It was such a simple gesture, almost insignificant, but it caught Nora off guard. She hadn't expected kindness to look like that, quiet, patient, without demands. For a moment, she hesitated, her defiance flickering like a candle in the wind. Marcus then did something even more unexpected. He didn't try to pull her out of the mud. He stepped into it fully, standing beside her, letting the cold, thick earth swallow his own boots. It was his way of saying he wasn't above her situation. He wasn't there to fix her, just to stand with her. Something shifted. The storm didn't stop, but it felt less overwhelming. Nora's shoulders lowered slightly, the tension in her small frame easing just enough to let a crack of vulnerability show through. She didn't speak, but she didn't push him away either. Minutes passed like that, two strangers in the rain, connected by silence. Eventually, Marcus spoke, his voice calm and steady. He didn't ask what happened. He didn't demand answers. He simply told her that sometimes, even the strongest people need someone to stand beside them, even if just for a little while. He told her he had a son who used to think the same way after losing his mother, and that strength didn't mean facing everything alone. Nora looked at him then, really looked at him, as if searching for something proof, maybe, that he understood. And for the first time since the storm began, she stepped onto the jacket he had laid down. It wasn't much, just a single step, but it was everything. Marcus helped her into the truck, wrapping her in a blanket he kept for emergencies. He turned up the heat, the hum of the engine replacing the chaos of the storm outside. Nora sat quietly, clutching the blanket like it was the only thing holding her together. As they drove, Marcus made a decision that would change both their lives. Instead of taking her to the nearest police station right away, he stopped at a small diner on the edge of town. It was warm, brightly lit, and smelled like coffee and comfort. He ordered hot chocolate for Nora and something simple for himself. giving her space to breathe. It was there, between hesitant sips and long silences, that Nora finally spoke. Her words came out slowly at first, then all at once about her mother, the ambulance, the empty house, the fear she couldn't name. Marcus listened without interrupting, his presence steady, like an anchor in a storm. By the time she finished, the rain had softened to a drizzle. Marcus eventually contacted the authorities, ensuring Nora would be safe, but something deeper had already happened. He had given her more than a ride or a warm meal. He had shown her that not everyone walks away, that kindness can find you even when you're lost in the middle of nowhere. Days turned into weeks, and through a series of events that felt almost like fate, Marcus and Nora's paths continued to cross. Her mother, Clara, recovered slowly, and when she learned what Marcus had done, gratitude filled the spaces where fear had once lived. Caleb and Nora became friends, their shared understanding of loss creating a bond that didn't need many words. Marcus, who had spent years simply surviving, began to feel something new, something fragile but powerful: hope. And Nora, the girl who once stood in the mud insisting she needed no one, started to believe that maybe, just maybe, it was okay to let people in. If this story is touching your heart so far, take a moment to hit that like button, share it with someone who needs a reminder of kindness, and subscribe for more stories that matter. But before we reach the end, here's a special request. Comment below with the word kindness if you believe even the smallest act can change a life. The memory of that rainy day never left them. It became a quiet reminder that sometimes, the most unexpected moments shape us the most. Marcus didn't set out to be a hero. He didn't have a plan. He simply chose to stop, to care, to stand in the mud beside someone who thought they had to face the world alone. And in doing so, he didn't just help a little girl. He found a piece of himself he thought he had lost forever. Because in a world that often rushes past pain, the bravest thing you can do is stop and remind someone they're not alone. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps keep stories like this alive, and who knows, maybe it will inspire someone out there to stop, to care, and to make a difference when it matters most.